Hello, everyone, and welcome to the penultimate round of the NASR Votive IndyCar Oval Series. My name is Mark Murphy, joined as always by that wonderful wreck, Ryan Eric King. Ryan, tonight we are at Las Vegas, and Viva Las Vegas indeed for these drivers. Who's going to be the one that gambles tonight? Who's going to be the one that gambles? Puts up a big number, goes to the front, and stakes their name to the top of this championship.
Yeah, and you talk about putting up a big number. Qualifying's going to actually matter today because once we get a decent amount of laps in, it's going to start becoming harder and harder to move your way up through the field. The tires and keeping them under you is going to be the name of the game today.
Yes, it is. I did run the fixed race here last night. The tires here are going to be the story. They are good for about 25 to 30 laps, or they are good for about 20 to 25 laps maybe. After that, they do fade. They do fade fast. Brandon Trost was the winner last night in that top split race, and Brandon had kind of a novel strategy where he basically short pitted everybody, and he was able to get the jump on the field and run some hot laps, yarded everybody, and then was able to hold on. There were some guys that tried that and got mired in traffic, and they weren't able to catch the guys who stayed long. So strategy is going to play, and when you take that pit stop, is going to play a big role here. As always in the NASR Votive IndyCar Series, it is 75% fuel, 4 sets of tires total. That's 3 on the car, 3 in the pits and 1 on the car. Not 3. That'd be a pretty neat trick, right? 3 on the car, 3 in the pits, 1 on the car. 100 laps, 150 miles this evening for the Votive Lost Wages 150, and that's one of Gary's favorite sayings. As far as the championship in the series goes, go ahead and bring that up here. Josh Ward is your championship leader on 170 points. Akash Rajesh is third on 154. Gary Lovren right behind him, 149. Nick Wheeler, 148. Scott Schrader will round out the top 5 with 140 points. Notable names: Edson Santos, Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Both of those gentlemen, Edson's won twice. LGN won one of the recruitment races. Look for them to come to the front today. Will Stearns has a lot of experience at this track. Noticeably absent tonight, Craig Forsyth, who has headed for warmer climes, and so Craig is probably watching. Hello to you, Craig. Wish you were here. Glad you're enjoying the Dutch beaches down there in St. Martin's, and so absolutely happy for you to get a vacation. In his stead comes a name, Ryan, that many of us in the community know to be one of the finest oval drivers that we have available, and that is AJ Musselman is on the entry list this evening, and so look for AJ to be going fast and having fun out there. We would be remiss if we did not mention that today is the 13th anniversary of the tragic loss of Dan Weldon at this very track. There had been some discussion in the community about whether or not we should run Vegas this week. I'm of the opinion that a racetrack is a racetrack, but we certainly do remember the Lionheart today. All of his wonderful fans, his wife, his 2 wonderful sons, who I've had the pleasure of meeting. They are excellent people, and so we're thinking about you tonight, Susie, Sebastian. We're thinking about you tonight, and we're thinking about you and the kids, and we hope we put on a great show. Qualifying is underway. We do have about a minute and a half left, and let's go ahead and get the scoreboard up there. Right now, top of the board is Eric Peterson, 219.393 miles an hour. Steven Bruner is right behind him. AJ Musselman goes to the top. That's a monster lap, 24.943, 219.725, and I don't think there's anybody else out there that's going to be able to top that, Ryan.
It doesn't seem like it, and I love being able to start out front here at Vegas because normally when you're in a tight pack here, when people try to, ease into the race, try to find their footing, what lines work and what don't work, you end up seeing people, a bit in the deep end, and then they don't know exactly how to carry the car through the corner, and you want to stay clear of those guys.
Absolutely. And that's something like, that's something that I noticed last night as I was racing here. I was probably, there's a very fine line between going too fast and really cooking that right front and going too slow and just losing the pack. I probably went too slow last night and it cost me a chance at the win. There were guys that went too fast early and cost themselves a shot at the win. These cars are right on the razor's edge. And Shane has done a great job with the package, not only with the 75% fuel. Hopefully it's going to mitigate some of that wear. But he has also introduced a little bit more wind, which should help things out as well. We are in that 5-minute warm-up period. And while we do that, I'd like to give you a few just quick facts about the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It was built in... It was built in 1971 as a complex. It originally opened as a much different facility. And basically, it was originally a road course and a drag strip. It was built to replace the Stardust International Raceway, which was owned by, but not on the same grounds as, the famous casino that was featured in the movie Casino. And that's also a great book by Nicholas Pileggi. And encourage any of you out there to... any of you out there that are readers and fans of old mafia stories to go pick that one up. In 1989, Richie Klein, who was the director of the Imperial Palace Hotel, which became the Link, bought the complex from the city and formulated a plan with Sahara owner Bill Bennett to build a 1.5-mile speedway on the track's complex, and the current facility was completed in 1996. It was purchased by none other than Bruton Smith and Speedway Motorsports Incorporated in 1998. The track itself, 1.5 miles in length. It is banked 20 degrees in the corners, 9 degrees on the front and the back. The race record lap is owned by none other than Richie Hearn. Yes, that same Richie Hearn that competes with us all the time in iRacing. He torched this facility for a lap of 219.192 in a 1995 Reynard during the 1996 IndyCar race here. So that was fine, and we're not too far off of Richie's track record pace today in qualifying. The facility also does have a bullring oval. That was built in 1985. That's 0.375 miles. That is a dirt course. There is a 2.499 mile road course on the grounds, as well as a medium and short length road course. And really, this has been a showcase facility. It always seems to attract a lot of promotion. There's always a huge deal about the NASCAR races here. IndyCar has raced here off and on throughout its history. And so today we return to the virtual world. The absolute track record here, as I mentioned, is owned by Richie Hearn, 24.636, 219 miles an hour and change. The stock car record, Kevin Harvick, 2018. And I'll put it to you, Ryan, how much slower do you think Kevin Harvick went in his Fusion that day?
Ooh, if I had to put it in the... maybe 5 seconds slower a lap?
You are awfully doggone close. Kevin Harvick's NASCAR Cup record, 28.808. So he was 4.2 seconds adrift of Richie Hearn. To put it in perspective, that means that Richie Hearn's Reynard, or one of these cars here today, they're running about the same speed, would lap a Winston Cup car here once every 6 laps. That's once every 6 to 7 laps. That's hauling the mail.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling how fast these cars can go around here.
It absolutely is. We are now just about a minute and a half out from the start of the race. Would love to thank our sponsors, Whiplash Simcams, Boomer Button Boxes, for their support of the series and of the channel. I would also like to thank everybody who's out there watching. Giga Mike, we're doing absolutely fine. Matty Wagner says I have a solid internet connection, and that's the inside dope tonight, folks. I got a notice from AT&T about 30 minutes ago that said my internet was out for a citywide outage where I live, and so we are streaming this race. And thankfully, I have unlimited internet. Hi, Amy. Thank you so much. But we are streaming the race tonight from a iPhone hotspot, so thank you, Verizon, for the solid backup internet connection. It seems like it's doing pretty good, but fingers crossed. If you see anything glitchy or a little bit out of sorts tonight, that's why. We're doing this one. We're doing this from a cell phone.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
There
Could
are
be on dial-up.
those are definitely first world problems, aren't they, Ryan? Oh my goodness! But glad to be here with everybody. Glad to be back behind the red microphone for the P1 broadcasting channel. Glad to have Ryan along. I always enjoy calling the races, even if sometimes you do have to resort to your backup facilities. We'll still try to put on a good show. Got about 5 seconds left here. Qualifying. All right. And in we go for the starting lineup for the NASR Votive Lost Wages 150, and that is a Gary Godso saying if I ever heard one. AJ Musselman takes the pole, 24.943, very close to the track record set by Richie Hearn. Outside of the front row, Matt Wagner, 24.977. No surprise to see those two on the front row. The second row, a pair of veterans, Eric Peterson of the Dark Horse Racing League. He'll start third. Edson Santos to his outside. He'll be fourth. He's a two-time winner this year in the series. Nick Wheeler will go fifth alongside Mason Mitchum in sixth. Row four, Stephen Bruner and Luis Gonzalez Nunez, our own friend. He'll start eighth. Turner Johnson will be ninth. Josh Cruz, who is our points leader, will roll 10th. In the 11th starting spot, Scott Schrader. 12th will be Armand Juan Petrovic. 13th, John Napier. 14th, Josh Ward. 15th, Gary Lovern. 16th, Akesh Rajesh. He's another one of those that's a championship contender. 17th, Greg Robinson. 18th, again, another familiar name from the IndyCar circles. That's Hugo Galez. 19th, Baron Glover. And 20th will roll Will Stearns. 21st is Ashton Kosner. And then not taking time here, and therefore not listed on the lineup, Ignacio Chamon and Shane Coker will start shotgun on the field and 23rd. So that's a pretty good looking lineup there. Pretty good looking lineup there, Ryan.
Yeah, pretty good lineup. Large enough lineup that you can't just pop in the pit lane, take fresh tires, and move your way up from the back. There's decent crowd.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of good drivers in this field. Interested to see how AJ Musselman does here. This is a different kind of a race for him. He's used to some pretty highfalutin competition, and so it's going to be interesting to see what he does, how he deals with some of the more inexperienced drivers in this grid. We've kind of talked about that. There are some big time veterans in this series, and there are some guys that don't race this car very much, and so it's interesting to see how the veterans interact with the newer guys, and we'll see how AJ deals with that tonight. Pace car is getting ready to make that left-hand turn to come down on the pit road. The field under control of AJ Musselman and Matty Wagner on the front row. Here's that big left. Barney's got the green flag in the air.
Green, green, green.
There's the green flag. The race is on. AJ Musselman gets the jump, and he'll lead him across the line and into turn one.
Field gets through 1 and 2 just fine.
And already we're seeing a battle for the lead. Matty Wagner is pulled to the outside of AJ Musselman. He's going to try to pin that number 54 machine down there on the bottom. Eric Peterson remains an interested spectator in third. Same for Edson Santos in fourth. Nick Wheeler in fifth. The front two are going after it for the lead. Everybody else seems to be content to be in single file as Eric Peterson goes for the fast lap of the race.
Yeah, because pretty much if you're not out in front, you're searching for clean air, or you're just trying to sit in single file. Just do what you can to minimize tire wear.
Yeah, and that is the name of the game. You want to hunt the clean air. You want to make sure that you're taking care of the tires, especially the right front. Stephen Bruner takes the fast lap and goes purple. You'll know that. You'll know whoever has the fast lap. By the way, by whomever has the purple numeral next to their number on the pylon right now. That is the number 20 of Steven Bruner. But you are looking for clean air. You're looking for any way that you can avoid putting stress on those Firestone Firehawks, because you can very easily overdo it. AJ has already pulled out to an early lead, and I'm gonna hop on board here with Matt Wagner and just see what we can hear, because I'd be willing to bet you $1 that he is not driving that thing as hard as it'll go. And you can kind of hear it, folks. If you hear Matty Wagner, you can hear him lifting out of the throttle down the straightaway to avoid getting on the chip. He's not shifting all the way up. That tells me he's kind of probably fuel mapping it a little bit. Wouldn't you think there, Ryan?
Yeah, just make this stint as long as you can. Try to see if you could jump Musselman through pit stops.
Now, I don't think you're going to be able to stretch a 75% fuel tank for 50 laps. The most that I went the longest last night with a 100% tank, and that was 53. So you'd figure the most they could do here would be 40 to 45 maybe, if they really map it out.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a guaranteed two-stopper. Maybe the benefit of running long would be shortening that second stop, but again, you're stopping for tires as well, so it's hard to tell.
Absolutely. 8 laps complete. The front 10 are single file. The next battle on the speedway is really, we're going to go back to it. Nearest battle on the track is this one. That's Turner Johnson. He's 12th. Armand Juan Petrovich is 11th. Those guys have made up significant spots since the start of the race. Gary Lovren, 13th. He's looking to the outside of Turner Johnson, but I think that's more just to get some clean air on the nose of that VOR machine. And then, speaking of another man on the move, if we come back a little bit further, that's Will Stearns. Now, he's got it cranked up in the Jacob Oster / Mark Murphy high line. He's just driving around people up in the marbles. Look at him up there. He is the only one that has consistently been way up on the fence. He goes way up, and then he comes down. All of that's in clean air. He's both going faster, and he's saving the tires.
Yeah, I like running that line here because you keep your momentum so high. That you don't have to slow down to hold the bottom. That you can just let it all out and just go.
Now, there's something that you want to be aware of. If you're going to run that high line, you have to make sure you do not make contact with a wall. I don't know if that was netcode, but on my screen at least, Will Stearns kind of brushed the fence coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, you do have to be careful on corner exits, especially on 4, because it feels like that wall comes at you fast, and if you're in the high line, you have very little real estate to work with.
Yeah, and that's, people that run, we're watching Akesh Rajesh work his way to the inside of Will Stearns, and Rajesh is going to immediately flash to the bottom of Will Cruz, or Josh Cruz, excuse me. He'll take that spot, so move Akesh Rajesh up to 15th. But it does, man. It feels like that wall just wants to jump up and smack you. So you almost got to be careful in the way you drive it. You almost want to be turning left. We got a car going through the grass. That is going to be, I believe, Greg Robinson. And let's see what befalls Mr. Greg Robinson. He's in the Kyle Larson liveried 00 machine. Gary Godso, always a fan of Kyle Larson liveries. He's going to come off of turn 4, picks up some arrow push, and there's the white wall. There it turns left, and she goes right through the grass. Beautiful save, though. We'll go back to live action here. Greg Robinson scored 21st. He's got Ashton Kosner behind him. Ignacio Shimon is 23rd in shotgun on the field. He made 1 lap and has since been on pit lane for 5 minutes and 25 seconds and counting. So trouble early for Ignacio Shimon. He looks to be under significant repair and or out of the race already.
All right, man, caution is out.
And we've got caution on the speedway. And I believe that is Shane Coker. And he was upside down. Let's see what's happened to Shane. Oh, no. So Shane Coker, he gets into the car of Josh Cruz and goes for a tumble. Shane gets upside down next to the fence. Josh Cruz has had some severe damage to his number 22 machine. And let's go back and we'll take a look at it from Shane Coker, from Shane Coker's roll bar, and show you what he sees. Now, Ryan, he's going down into turn number 1, down the front stretch. He's going to arc it a little bit higher.
Oh, and then Josh Cruz just brushes that turn 1 wall.
Yeah, there's nowhere for Shane to go because Josh Cruz hits the fence. Shane Coker goes, they touch wheels. Shane Coker goes for a wild ride. That's going to be a tow for Shane at the very least. Josh Cruz has made it, he's made it back to pit road at least. Do not know if that's under a tow or not. Meanwhile, we do have cars on the pit lane. Edson Santos will lead that brigade down. Josh Ward, Scott Schrader, Turner Johnson, Gary Lover, Akesh Rajesh, Will Stearns, Juan Petrovich, John Napier, Baron Glover, Greg Robinson, Ashton Kosner, all of those drivers electing to make their first pit stop on lap number 17 of a scheduled 100. It does not appear that Santos, Ward, Lover, and Rajesh took tires, and it appears as though everybody else behind them, Schrader, Johnson, Stearns, Napier, Juan Petrovich, Glover, and so forth, it appears as though that they did. So one set of tires burned for those machines.
Yeah, or if I was coming in, I'd probably not take tires either, because you're going to have to likely stop 2 more times to make it to the end regardless. You could shorten up both stops because you won't need as much fuel, but I wouldn't have wasted a set of tires on this early stop.
I can see coming to get some gas. I definitely agree. There's a strategy to tires. We're coming back to get 1 to green here. There's definitely a strategy about getting tires. If I've only got 1 spare set, and we think that this is pretty much a straight up 2-stopper, if I've only got 1 set, I don't want to burn that set early. I kind of want to keep that in my back pocket in case there's a yellow with, I'd rather use that with 17 to go than 17 laps in.
Yeah, because especially considering how advantageous it is to be on fresh tires. If you have an extra set at the end, you can bring it out like a closer out of the bullpen and use it, just throw your way up the field.
Absolutely. Amy Coker said, so glad this isn't real life. I'd had a heart attack. Well, so would I. The good news is, in iRacing, we can bring the cars back to pit road. We will get them digitally repaired instantaneously because we do have a fast repair available to us here in the NASR Votive Series. And those 2 gentlemen, Josh Cruz and Shane Coker, they are 2 and 3 laps down respectively. But once the tow is complete, and I see miles per hour going up on the screen, those 2 will absolutely get right back into the thick of the action. And see, Amy, there he is. He's coming back onto the speedway. Car looks good as new to me. The wonders of the digital age. The pace car has turned to the left. It is on the pit lane. Green flag is out. AJ Musselman hits the loud pedal. The race is back on. 19 of 100 complete here at Las Vegas. The battle is shaping up back here. That is Josh Ward to the outside. He has Gary Lovern to his inside. Behind them, Akesh Rajesh and Turner Johnson. They both won a piece of that action. That is 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th position. Those cars have all stopped. None of them have fresh tires. Well, the first car with fresh tires is Turner Johnson. Now, Turner Johnson, he wants to use those fresh tires to great effect. He wants to get up here and get gone. But he can't quite do it. Josh Ward, very, very, very fast. Very rapid driver. He was in that top split race last night. I had the good fortune of racing around him for a while. Had the good fortune of racing around him for a good while last night, Ryan. There are some darn good drivers in this series for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to get that delta you need to be able to pass someone. If you have fresh tires, you really have to know what you're doing to get the speed to make the moves, or you're just going to be stuck in dirty air, because once you're following not one car, but 2 cars and 3 cars and 4 cars, that effect multiplies, and it's so hard to get around people.
Yeah, ideally Turner Johnson would want to be either running the extreme high line or the extreme low line. Now, he finally got it there. He got some clean air. He's going to run right back up on the rear wing of Akash Rajesh. Unfortunately, he's got that huge run, but he doesn't really have anywhere to go. He's got Gary Lovren plugging up that high line up in front of him, so he's still got the dirty air. Not quite able to make the move on Akash Rajesh, although he should be able to draw even. And if he can keep the right front even, and he can keep it on the high line there, he's going to be able to make the pass, and indeed he does. He's going to have a huge run to the bottom of Josh Ward, so it might be 2 for the price of 1 here for Turner Johnson, looking for 11th, and he gets it.
Well, 2 down, and now it becomes slightly easier to get to the next car.
Absolutely, and you would think that the cars on older tires, as they get some heat in them, now when they heat cycle, they cool off. They're good for 4 or 5 laps in my experience. We've got Akash Rajesh blinking in the background there. They're good for 4 or 5 laps maybe?
Yeah, that opening couple laps when the race restarts, and then you go back into that phase of sort of sliding around trying to find grip.
Yeah, and so for Turner Johnson, his advantage is going to start to multiply here in a little bit, because the cars that have been out on that long green flag run, they are already they are already starting to hit the deadband of the tires. They're already starting to want them. And they'll start to want them here probably within the next few laps, I would think. Go on board with Turner Johnson here as he races Gary Lovren. And that's what they see pretty much out the front. That's pretty much what you see out of the windshield or out of the aero screen of these cars. I'll even do you one better, fans. I'll put you in the cockpit with Turner Johnson. Now, obviously, we can't see his anti-roll bars. We can't see the weight jack or the fuel map or his mileage. But that's kind of what you're seeing out of that center monitor. Not much, right, Ryan?
Yeah, because pretty much all you really need to see is your immediate surroundings in front of you and the track ahead. Because especially at a place like Las Vegas, you're moving so fast that you should be looking up the road to the next corner.
Yeah, so something that people marvel at when I talk to them and watching this view is that I don't actually look straight ahead. I actually almost look through the upper middle of the left side of that aero screen. So right now, as I'm driving this track with Turner Johnson, I'm looking at the apex of the corner now. Right? You're not looking straight ahead. You're looking 100 to 200 yards ahead. Does that track with your experience?
Yeah, that does track, because that's where your car is going to be in a matter of seconds. If anything happens there, you're hitting that scene immediately.
Right. So, like, if Gary Lovren were to get out of shape, there's absolutely nothing that Turner Johnson can do. The human eye and the human hands cannot react that fast. You might be able to angle your car a little bit different, but you're not going to be able to avoid it. You're just going to be able to move a little bit and hope that that's right. Meanwhile, if you're looking ahead of this, now if you're looking at Mason Mitchum or Hugo Gallows, so this is the next 2 cars up the road, you're going to be able to react to them because you've given yourself a second or two to process the information and formulate a plan to miss whatever happens ahead. But if the car next to you or immediately in front of you, and there goes Akash Rajesh, if they get bent out of shape, there's basically no way that you have time to react. Turner Johnson is going to go back to 12th. Those new tires are not doing him any good, but I'll tell you who they are doing some good for, and that's Armanzwan Petrovic. He's looking to the inside of Turner Johnson, and this remains by far the best battle on the speedway.
Yeah, jockeying for position. They took a gamble, and they want it to come good, and you got to drive for it.
Yeah, now the thing is that they're not gambling for just now. Gary Lovern is the first car that pitted. He and Rajesh do not have tires. First car on tires is Juan Petrovic, and he is now pulled to the rear wing of Akash Rajesh. But the thing is, with Juan Petrovic and those guys, they're not just gambling for now and to make up positions now. They're also gambling for what happens 15 laps from now. Because by then, all of the cars in front of them will have stopped, and this trio right here, as Turner Johnson gets into the fence, he saves the car. My goodness. Stopped my heart there for a second. But this crew here, they're going to be leading the race within the next 10 laps or so. Not only that, they're going to have the rest of the field trapped a lap down for about 15 laps.
Yeah, and you don't know what could happen during those 15 laps. If a caution comes out, then they'll definitely be trapped a lap down.
Right, and they would get back on the lead lap, of course. Akash Rajesh works himself to the inside of Gary Lovern. They keep those fresh tires. It seems like every time somebody with the fresh tires gets close, boys. Calm down now. But it seems like every time somebody gets close enough to the front two on this strategy with the fresh tires, and we've got Nick Wheeler peeling into pit road, so pit stops are already starting for this lead group. Nick Wheeler has brought the number 77 to pit lane, but it seems like every time somebody gets to the front two that don't have tires, they instantly start racing each other, and they don't let the fresh tires through. And I don't know that that's helping them any as a group.
Probably isn't, but when you're in the heat of the moment, you want to defend your position with your life.
No, absolutely. Now, Juan Petrovic has got to the inside of Akash Rajesh. I'm going to flip back to AJ Musselman a moment. And the reason I'm going to do that is we are approaching green flag stops. Musselman does have the lead by 1.1 seconds over Matty Wagner. Wagner is second. He has a further 2.6 seconds back to this man, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who has made his way around the number 20 of Steven Bruner. We'll go ahead and put the followed up. Edson Santos runs fifth. That's the leaner energy machine. I keep wanting to say learner, but it's leaner. Wonderful livery on that machine. AJ Musselman has pulled his car to the pit lane, and so now we await Matt Wagner, and that is a Robert Wickens tribute on the number 89. Wagner's going to go around one more time, and it's as I suspected. Matty Wags was saving himself some fuel during that initial run. I am shocked that Matt Wagner was saving fuel, Ryan. Shocked.
Now, yeah, we'll quickly find out how much fuel did he save.
Yeah, so AJ Musselman, AJ went 38 laps, 39 laps. Matty Wagner, he just started lap 41. So Wags going long here. Eric Peterson has pulled his car on the pit lane. He went 40. LGN is also in. He went 39. And here comes Wagner. He's going to pull the car to pit lane. He almost missed it. Got to be careful. Get it down to the pit road speed limit and get yourself on the pit lane. We're gonna get in the cockpit for Matt Wagner, and this is what that pit road speed limit looks like for you folks. This is 55 miles an hour going down the pit lane. He's gonna pull in. He's gonna hit his box. Car's gonna go up on the jacks. Let's see how he launches it here. So Wagner just is of the opinion that you pull down very slowly, drop the clutch, hits the pit speed limiter, and he'll go back out on the speedway. But that is how you execute an IndyCar pit stop, and that is going to turn the lead over to Edson Santos. Edson, by the way, has sodded off from that group behind him. 3.2 seconds in the lead for Edson Santos.
Just incredible, and it really shows you how pit stops can make or break your day at Las Vegas.
Mike, you mean stock car expert Matty Wags? Well, he won he won a stock car race, so he's now paid off the bet. I don't get to call him the stock car ace anymore, although maybe I should. But love you, Mike. That's funny. Edson Santos leads it. Akash Rajesh is cutting into the gap a little bit, 2 3/10 faster for Rajesh. Let's flip back here to see, is Akash Rajesh working with Armand Juan Petrovic? They are not. You thought maybe they could have been swapping, but Rajesh definitely has the boot in it. He's got Juan Petrovic in third, and then we'll kind of continue to go through the field here. There's Armand Juan Petrovic. Gary Lovern in the Velocity Online Racing team for Altena Autosport. He is fourth. Josh Ward is in last night's top split race. There's Josh. He is fifth currently. All of these cars are 29 laps into their current run. Baron Glover, good to see him up near the front. He is sixth. We talked about Turner Johnson quite a bit in his trials and tribulations with the new tires. He is seventh. Scotty Schrader, we'll show him the number 74 machine. He is eighth. Gary Lovern just brought his car to pit road, by the way. That'll move John Napier in the very, very colorful Rogue Energy machine. He is now eighth. Ashton Kosner, the number 34, he is ninth. And how about Greg Robinson? Greg Robinson took the Sojourn through the grass off the fence. A little bit of Karen Poole with the turn 4 wall, Ryan. He rounds out the top 10.
Oh.
Kind of going to want to take a look back into AJ Musselman just to kind of see how he's faring. Now the interval that you see on the pylon is the interval to the next car. So AJ Musselman 12 seconds to the next car, which would put him roughly 26 seconds behind the leader. So he's not far from being. He is not far from unlapping himself. If I'm not mistaken, that's Edson Santos just right up the road, is it not?
Yes, he's the next car ahead of the one directly in front of Wagner.
Gotcha. So this is.
Oh yeah, it's Santos, then Musselman, then Wagner as they run on track.
Now you got to wonder: is Edson Santos saving is he saving it, trying to make it on one more stop? Is that the strategy for the guys that dropped in on lap 17?
Oh, I think we're gonna fall just short of that because you would need to likely hit lap 60 to make it to the end.
Now, Edson, if he can, he's going to want to drop in and draft AJ Musselman as much as possible, because in order to make that work, he's going to have to be running at full lean fuel 5. He's going to have everything turned down. He needs the draft in order to keep up, which he's not doing. He's falling further and further behind AJ, which is going to put him into the clutches of Matty Wagner. Now, AJ Musselman and Matt Wagner, they want to get the hammer down and keep throwing down heaters. Right now, the 54 of AJ Musselman last time by 25.598. Ashton Kosner has hit pit lane, so Musselman and Wagner, they're still a lap. Well, they just now have unlapped themselves. So tail in the lead lap. Last time by AJ Musselman 25.582. Edson Santos 26.021. So he's given up a half a second a lap doing this. You know, I don't know if they make it on one more stop. I don't even know if it's worth it. They'd have to go so slow at Ryan. Like they may be in trouble just in terms of speed on that strategy.
So it looks like we did have an incident that didn't result in a caution between Josh Cruz and Hugo Galez at the end of lap 50 for them in turn 4. Galez got effectively pitched into the wall after contact with Cruz.
Yeah, we're gonna go back and watch it. Josh Cruz just drifts up the speedway, kind of gets into Hugo Galez a little bit. Hugo goes for the ride. He is very slow, trying to limp that car down the back straightaway, see if he can't get it to pit lane. Tough break for Hugo Galez. And this is You see that right front wheel rattle in there, Ryan?
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't have a direct drive wheel, because you feel every single one of those bumps and shimmies in that wheel. It almost wants to rip the thing out of your hand trying to limp it back to pit lane. And that is a very slow ride. He's 54, 55 miles an hour all the way around the speedway. He's going to get it back. Good job for Hugo Galez to get it back to pit lane, but just an unfortunate and tough break. Meanwhile, the charge for A.J. Musselman and Matty Wagner is still on. They continue to lap now 0.7 of a second faster than leader Edson Santos. We're going to change it to the distance to the leader, and you can watch the gap close. They were 26 seconds down about 7 laps ago. Make that 21, 22 seconds a lap now, and they are coming in a hurry.
Yeah, Santos is coming in.
Yep, Edson's going to come in, and this is what he hopes is going to be his final service. The problem with that is he only made it 40 laps that time.
Yeah, he's going to need a caution to make it to the end.
He's going to need a caution, and he's going to be in danger of being at the back end of this line. Schrader, I believe Schrader, Barron Glover, these guys are still out there. So Barron Glover, Scott Schrader, they are still out. We're watching Scott Schrader. Here's the leader, Barron Glover. Barron Glover is going to come to pit road. That's going to turn it over to Scott Schrader. Now here's the deal. These guys pretty much have guaranteed that they have to make it on one more just to be competitive, because A.J. Musselman, he's only 6 seconds behind Scott Schrader now. Last lap, by the way, for Scott Schrader, 26.767. He is a full second a lap slower than the cars that are giving chase. He's really trying to eke out as much fuel as he can. Let's go on board with him, Ryan. Tell me what you see.
Definitely not going to full. Well, if we are going to full throttle, we're not in mix 1.
No, to me that looks like mix 5, and it does not. It doesn't feel like he's giving it the full welly, as Jeremy Clarkson would say. And I think he's almost out of gas here. I just saw that car wiggle a little bit, and certainly he is coming to pit lane. So here comes Scott Schrader. Now the only way that benefits him is
we have a crash.
No yellow yet. Will Stearns and Armand Petrovic slow on the speedway. Can they get it off? Both of them have damaged right fronts. Let's get back and see what has happened to those two. I'll get to Mr. Forsyth in a minute. Armand Petrovic to the outside. That's Will Stearns in the Van Halen car on the inside. And same kind of deal. Will just came up, kissed the wall, nowhere for Armand Petrovic to go. Will Stearns does a full spin. Both cars spin hard into the outside wall for both cars, but they keep it pointed in the right direction. Both of them make it to pit lane. And guess what? We stay green. And Craig,
I'm surprised there was no caution.
I am absolutely surprised as well. That hands the lead. This whole cycle hand the lead back to A.J. Musselman and Matty Wagner. Now, we know those two are going to have to stop again. You know who's might come out smelling like a rose right here, though, Ryan?
I don't know. Who?
This man right here, Scott Schrader. He came in at lap 63. That means he should be able to go full chat to the end of the race.
That is true. As long as he doesn't end up in a situation where he's sort of out-leveraged on worn tires, he should be fine.
Now, the key is here, he is a lap down. We're gonna go back to the multifunction interval to tell you to give you an idea of where he is. John Napier would be 26. So he's about 37 seconds down. He's going to come out, if this stays green, he's going to come out in the lead on the Delta, but not by much. So keep an eye on Scott Schrader, currently 15th. But that is the car that could be in the catbird seat if we go all the way up to the end on fuel. Meanwhile, we do have cars that are coming to the pit lane. And we have a titanic battle between Mason Mitchum, Edson Santos, and Gary Lovern developing on the speedway. Those lines were flashing for me, as well as Josh Ward, John Napier, and Nick Wheeler. Now, Wheeler has come to pit lane, and so maybe that's why they're all flashing. Craig, you've got it backwards. So Edson is the one that is on the Craig Forsyth plan, which is to save as much fuel as possible. AJ Musselman and Matty Wags are absolutely flat out. So that's the tortoise and the hare. We do not think that Edson has enough gas to make it all the way to the end without stopping. There is only one car that we think that can do it, and that is Scott Schrader, currently running in 13th, as we watch Nick Wheeler get back up to speed. Go back to watch Wagner and Musselman. They're going to battle for the lead, and that's because A.J. Musselman is going to come to pit lane, cover his stop.
Yep, and based on the first set of stops, Wagner should be out here for 3 or 4 more laps.
Now, that is less fuel that he's got to take, but I'll tell you what, the other thing that I kind of wanted to point out to everybody is I'm going to watch where Scott Schrader comes out with respect to A.J. Musselman. Right, that's going to be the story. Musselman hits his marks perfectly. Car goes up on the jacks. We're going to see 4 tires and just enough ethanol to see if he can make it through to the end. There he goes down and away, and let's see where he blends in with respect to Scott Schrader. There's Shane Coker going to go by in the lap machine. And there is Scott Schrader. So Schrader is effectively the leader of the race here, but not by much. And let's be fair, there's a huge difference in experience between those two drivers, Ryan.
Yeah, where I'm a bit worried for Scott. It's going to be hard to fend him off on worn tires. That's
a 6,000 oval I rating that just drove by you like you were tied to a post, and that's what you would expect. AJ Musselman is one of the very best oval racers in this car. He is a veteran of the 500-mile wars at places like Michigan, Fontana, Pocono, Indianapolis. No stranger to these longer distances. No stranger to the fuel saving. He knows the strategy, and so AJ Musselman back by Scott Schrader. He's working on Ikesh Rajesh. Now Rajesh is 3rd. Eric Peterson just in front of this is 2nd. Matt Wagner is 10 seconds clear of this battle. And to kind of give you some perspective, last time through, AJ Musselman 25.318. He is in the draft. Matty Wags does not have a draft. He's out there by himself. He does have a car just a little bit ahead of him. I believe that is Baron Glover. But Wagner doesn't really have the benefit of the draft, and he is a couple of tenths slower just on that basis. Eric Peterson's going to come to pit lane. But Craig, while we have you here, if you're still in the chat, buddy, can you tell us how the beach is? I've got about 3 months before I head there myself. So can you tell me how it is? You got any tips on places to eat? Places we might go to get an adult refreshment after hours? You can leave those tips in the chat. I'll give them to the wonderful Miss Natalie after the broadcast is over. Matty Wagner leads at 76 of 100. Ryan, you ever been to St. Martin's?
No, I haven't been to St. Martin's. I don't know if you know this. My parents are from Jamaica.
Aha, very good. So I'm assuming you've been there.
Yes.
See, that's one of the islands I've never been to. Because, to go to Jamaica, you've got to go to Jamaica, right? There's not a cruise that goes from Miami to Jamaica and then goes somewhere else. You know what I mean? See,
that is true, because, in terms of the islands, it's separated from most of the other ones.
It's on the list. It's the last one of It is the last one of the islands that we haven't been to. So we will get to Jamaica, but just not this time. It's on the list. The last two things to do, and Matty Wagner is coming to pit lane here. We'll cover his stop because he is currently the leader, and we'll want to see how long, where he comes out in relationship to AJ Musselman. Now, this stop should be faster. AJ Musselman on pit lane, 32.6 seconds total, 7.7 in the box. Matty Wagner brings his number 89 machine to a halt in his pit stall. Car goes up. Car goes down. Wagner 7.3 seconds in the box on pit lane for 32.8. So he's a half a second quicker on the pit stop exchange than AJ Musselman. And he is going to come out. There's the race for the lead. Not quite.
Yeah, not quite, but he's still in the tow. He has fresher tires. He's in a position to do something. He just can't lose that tow.
Absolutely. Now, you do have Stephen Bruner scored as the leader here, and we don't want to lose sight of that. He is scored as the leader, but he is coming down pit lane. That's going to hand it to Edson Santos, and it's going to hand the lead to Edson Santos. Second to Turner Johnson. Musselman will cycle to third, Wagner to fourth, and our old buddy Luis Gonzalez Nunez, P1 team, broadcast teammate, will cycle to fifth once this all shakes out. Scott Schrader will be sixth. Nick Wheeler seventh. Ashton Kutcher. Why did I say Ashton Kutcher? Ashton Kosner is eighth, and that's a lot of spots made up for Ashton. Ninth, Baron Glover. 10th, Eric Peterson, as they run on the circuit. But we're pretty certain, aren't we, that Edson and, well, Turner Johnson just hit pit road. So Edson Santos is the last car out there, and we're fairly certain that Edson's going to have to stop, right?
Yeah, we're fairly certain Edson's going to have to stop. Wagner is dueling with Musselman right now.
You know what? This is on purpose. And if you had to, well, I thought it was on purpose, and then Matty Wags pulled back to the outside. I thought that they were doing the swap. We saw that from the Rogue Racing team last night in the top split race, where Kyle Clinworth and Brian Campbell were swapping back and forth with the lead of the race, trying to gap Brandon Trost. And I thought for a minute that maybe Matty Wags and AJ Musselman were doing the same. If there were two drivers, with the absence of Craig Forsyth, who says it's hot, it's too hot, and he's learning his lesson. See, that's why you go in February, not October, Craig. You'll learn next time. You get out of Canada when it's snowing, not when it's nice. Coming from somebody who almost lives in Canada. But we saw the Rogue Racing cars swap last night, and they were very effective with it. Stephen Bruner, by the way, just ran the fastest lap of the race, 24.981, so put him in purple, but he is 12th. But we saw those boys swapping last night, trying to gap Brandon Trost. It almost worked, and then poor Kyle Clinworth, he had himself disconnected while he was running down the leader on fresh shoes. So bad break for Clindy. Yours truly wound up fourth in that race. No idea how. Kind of one of those deals where you show up, you don't have any speed, you wander around mid-pack for the entire race. You look up at the end, you're like, how in the world did I wind up in the top five? And that was my night last night in the IR Black Magic Designs machine. But looking at Matty Wags and AJ Musselman here, I'm guessing Matt has decided he's going to secure the bottom here.
Yeah, because they pretty much have to just race assuming Santos is going to come in.
Well, if he doesn't come in, they're going to get him. I mean, they're 0.8 of a second a lap faster. They've got about 11.8 to go. So they're going to get, if Santos stays out, they're going to get to him roughly at the white flag.
Well, that's going to be intense.
Santos has laid the wood to it now. He just picked up the pace to a 25.963. So only lost a half a second that time. But yeah, Craig, pick a new anniversary. Just tell her you're going to celebrate in the winter, right? Present the trip on your anniversary date and tell her that you're going in the win. See, that's what I did. Yeah, and that's what we think too. Edson's going to have to pit or he's going to run out and try to coast home. Matt and AJ, we think, are effectively racing for the lead. Let's go back and look at Edson Santos. He does not have any help ahead of him, which is not the ideal situation. He does have help in the fact that there is a gaggle of cars behind him, and maybe Edson knows that, and he's just going to say, "Look, I'm going to need some cars to pass me just so I can draft." We know Steven Bruner's fast, Ryan. He's got the fastest lap of the race. Draft him.
That's going to be an issue where, yeah, you're definitely going to have to start drafting cars. It's the only way.
Now, there is one car that has made the distance that Edson Santos is trying to do. That would be 43 laps. That is the machine of Scott Schrader, who currently runs 6th. He did it on the last run, but Scott Schrader was so slow at the end of that. He was giving up a second and a half a lap. Edson Santos, with 9 laps to go, 8.5 to go, with an 8.5 second lead, cannot afford to give up a second a lap. You know, and I just thought of something else that would solve Mr. Forsyth's dilemma. You could have a renewing of your vows in the winter and then just take the trip on the anniversary of your vow renewal. And then that way, it's perfect. Just have another wedding, Craig. Absolutely love our audience. This reminds me, by the way, of we were on a vacation to Southern California right after our first child had been born. Natalie was actually pregnant with Charlotte at the time, and she did not realize that the trip corresponded with the 24 hours of Le Mans. So she was laying by the pool, as was I, holding an iPad, watching the 24 hours of Le Mans, not paying any attention to my wife on vacation. We are 7 to go, coming to get 6 to go. Santos has slowed appreciably now. He gave 26.665 that last time by. Here comes Matty Wagner, 25.418, 1.2 seconds. I don't think it's going to hold up for Edson Santos. Wagner and Musselman are coming.
Yeah, at this point, it would take 1 or 2 more laps, but there's one outcome where Santos could win this race.
Yeah, I mean, Edson's hoping for a caution here. That's about the only thing that's going to save him. 26.843 that time for him. 25.410 for Matty Wagner. There is no lift out of the 89, none out of the 54, and I guarantee you Edson is playing Mr. Featherfoot as you watch the gap just shrink away. 4.6 seconds now, 5 laps to go. Edson Santos.
Oh!
And there it is. Caution is out. And that is going to be John Napier involved. His car against the outside retaining wall on the front stretch. And let's see what happens to the 98 of John Napier. He's coming around here, and I bet he gets into the turn 4 wall exit maybe. No. Greg Robinson just kind of drifted up there. A little bit of net code. Into the fence goes John Napier. Caution is on the speedway. 4 laps to go. And you know what this means, Ryan?
Oh, man. We saw the flag held for far worse today.
We have. Well, to be fair, John Napier did stop on the speedway, but you know what this means? The caution coming out with 4 laps to go. I think we're going to have a green/white checker. So we're going to have a 1-lap shootout, I think.
Oh, no. Poor Edson Santos.
Now, the other thing is, Edson still isn't going to have enough fuel to run at full rich, is he?
No, there's no way. Like, he was marginal to begin with. We estimated that he was going to run out during the last lap.
Yeah, and so, Craig, Mike, he did play the odds game. It's not come up aces yet. Maybe a pair of jacks. He doesn't have a bad starting hand here, but I don't think he's got enough gas. Even if even with the caution, I don't know that he's going to be able to run at full rich. Besides,
if he runs at full rich, he's going to run out at some point later in the lap.
not only that, but IndyCar rules, all of those lap cars that you see behind Edson Santos, they are going to be put to the back of the field here. So if we do indeed get a one-lap shootout, we'll see those cars go to the back once the lights go out on the iRacing pace car. And that's going to be interesting because it's going to put Wagner and Musselman and Nunez, who have plenty of fuel on board, it's going to put them right on the rear wing of Edson Santos. And let's see if the lights do indeed go out here, because we're coming to 2 to go. So this is the moment of truth.
The drivers are talking like the race is over.
Pace car hits the start-finish line, and the lights are still on. So we may not get that one-lap shootout after all. I was hoping for it. It flew with 5 to go. I was hoping we were going to get it, but it doesn't look like we will. Because the lights will go out this time by, which would mean 1 to go. And they won't throw the green and the checker together. So, unfortunately, we're going to end this one under caution. Edson Santos appears to be your winner. And that's only if he can keep that car running even under yellow.
I think he should be fine. I don't think he'll run out running these laps under caution.
I wonder if he's in there babying it and shutting it off and so forth. He is not shutting the car off. He's definitely not traveling any further than he has to, though. Who was it that did that in the iRacing 500? Was it Nick DeGroot that took the access roads and saved enough gas to beat everybody on fuel?
Yeah, it was DeGroot.
That seems like something a smart guy like him would figure out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's like every yard matters, and if you could chop a whole bunch of them off, well, even better.
That's like running a different circuit, though. Like, he was running, everybody else was running 2.5 miles under yellow. He was running 2. There's the white and the yellow together. So one more slow circuit under the yellow light. Edson Santos will win his 3rd race of the NASR Votive IndyCar Series season. The penultimate round. Penultimate. I can't ever say that word right, round. Second to last. Penultimate. Second to last race. How's that? We'll finish this off next week at my favorite track to go to, my favorite track to watch a race. It is probably my worst oval in the circuit. That would be in the service. That is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, half distance, 250 miles, and won't that be fun?
Oh, it's always a fun race there, no matter the distance.
Absolutely. Going to go back on board with Edson. Again, very much baby. I'm going to ask him how much fuel he had left in that baby. And Craig, we will say hi to him for you. And yes, we will see you at Indy. That'll be a major player in 1 week's time when we get to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Craig Forsyth, he and I have had our moments around that place together. Meanwhile, Edson Santos is going to come down. He'll claim the checkered flag. Barney has it in hand. And there it is. Edson Santos, your winner. Matty Wagner, 2nd. AJ Musselman will round out the podium. Luis Gonzalez Nunez, 4th. Nick Wheeler, the final member of the top 5. So not a bad run for Edson. He got pretty lucky. He's going to do his donuts on the back because I don't think he's got enough fuel otherwise. It is out now. So even under yellow, he only had enough to do.
Well, I said there was only one outcome where he wins the race, and that one outcome happened.
Yeah, and sometimes it's luck, right? I don't want to say rather be lucky than good, but you know what? sometimes luck pays, right? And it paid off for Edson Santos today. Let's go ahead and get the final running order in. Edson Santos, your winner. He gains 3 spots, leads 37 laps, and he'll take home the flag tonight in the lost wages 150. Matty Wagner finishes right where he started in second place. AJ Musselman in his debut in the NASR Votive Racing Series, he'll come home third in the number 54 Dallara. Luis Gonzalez Nunez, another solid run for Luis. He'll be fourth. And Nick Wheeler, he'll round out your top 5. So a good night for the veterans, I would say. They stake claim to the entire top half of the top 10. Scott Schrader, 6th after that beautiful fuel run. Eric Peterson, he'll come home 7th. Akash Rajesh will be 8th, pad his points deal. Stephen Bruner, 9th, and Josh Ward will round out your top 10. 11th, Gary Lovern. 12th, Barron Glover. Barron gained 7 spots on the day, and he might be the hard charger. Mason Mitchum, he lost 7. He'll finish 13th. Turner Johnson, 14th. Greg Robinson, 15th after his slide through the grass. Armand Zwan Petrovich, 16th. Ashton Kosner, 17th. Josh Cruz, 18th. Shane Coker, he'll finish 3 laps down in 19th after his wild ride. Jod Napier will round out the front 20. 21st, Hugo Gallas. 22nd, Will Stearns. And shotgun on the field after some early trouble in his debut race, Ignacio Shimon. And that is your running order. Let's get into the Discord, Ryan. Let's see if we've got anybody to talk to tonight. All right, we do have AJ Musselman in the waiting room. Let's go ahead and bring AJ up here. What do you say? AJ Musselman, Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Well, buddy, you led a ton, and you led a ton from the pole, and that's about as fine a debut as anybody can ask for. Kind of walk us through your day. It looked like the smart money early was to do what you did, which is not stop. And then as it turned out, the race went green the rest of the way, and the no stopper kind of got you with a late yellow. But walk us through your day and tell us how it was.
Yeah, track position was key, and I was really surprised that it went green as long as it did afterwards. But still a really solid day. Focus on Q. I put a lot of focus on Q every week, regardless of the series I'm in. And yeah, just tried to maintain the gap and keep Wagner behind me. He had the tire advantage at the end, so he got me for P2, but still a solid day overall.
Now, that's a tall order trying to keep Matty Wagner behind you. I struggle with that every Sunday night in Dark Horse. Ryan, you have any questions for AJ?
Yeah, what was your plan heading into today's end game? How you pictured the race ending if that last caution hadn't come out?
I got stuck in some traffic after my last pit stop, so Wagner was going to get me with his tire advantage at the end. If I didn't get stuck in traffic, I think I would have been able to hold Wagner off, but I just didn't have enough of a gap. Going into it, my goal was to stay up front and keep track position as long as possible. I didn't have any intention on pitting that early lap 15. That was predetermined that I would stay out and hope everyone else stayed out with me. But yeah, the goal is to survive, and we did survive and finished P3, so a solid debut.
Absolutely. We're going to see you next week at Indianapolis, AJ?
Most likely, yes.
Very good. Well, good to have you in the series. Great to see you in the show tonight. Any friends, family, sponsors that you'd like to give a shout out to this evening?
Shout out to any friends watching today. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Speaking of those friends, Craig Forsyth in the chat sitting on a beach says hello. So we'll have to give him the business next week. But good to see you tonight, AJ. And you have a great rest of your night. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
Likewise. See ya.
All right. So that was AJ Musselman. He ran third tonight. We do not see Edson Santos, but I tell you who I am going to pick, and I'm going to plug him right out of his Discord and bring him in here. This is second place, Matt Wagner, Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Very good. Well, now we're on live TV, so you can't cuss, brother. But you got to tell us how today went.
Well, fuel mileage. So at first I was a little bit upset that I didn't pit the first time around. But what was the caution? Was it 17? Because I made it. Because I went further. I think I went further than the rest of them. I think I went 43 laps. I can't hold me to that. Then I started thinking, I'm like, darn, I should have, I should have pitted early with those guys. And then the caution, I see a bunch of wrecks. Like, it kind of slowed me down a little bit of progress there. And I was surprised the yellow didn't get thrown. And at the end, I was watching the gap. It was slowly coming into my favor. Like, the first thing is first, you got to get around traffic. And lo and behold, here comes another caution to end the race. I think that's 3 weeks in a row that Santos won under yellow, and I'm a little bit triggered over that.
You know, it happens. We were watching that gap disappear. There were times where you and AJ were catching Edson by, a second to a second and a half a lap. He was in a huge pack of cars, and he was trying to get as much suck as he could. But you guys were definitely going to get there coming to the white. And then the other thing is we didn't think he had enough fuel to make it all the way to the end anyway.
That's just, yeah.
So even if it would have stayed green, I think he would have run out. But there were several times in the race where there were incidents that may have triggered a caution, but everybody they crashed, but they did a good job of getting it off the speedway or getting into pit road or getting it somewhere else where it didn't trigger the caution. And so that was pretty neat to see. Ryan, do you have anything for second place Matt Wagner today?
No, other than my congratulations, because you didn't win the day, but you really put yourself in a position to win if the race had gone green.
Yeah, I that was the whole thing. My plan, as soon as AJ pitted, I'm like, why is AJ pitting there? So I'm like, wow, okay, so I'm going to stay out as far as I can, and I'm going to use the cars in front of me to use the draft a little bit, try to get a little advantage, by the time I get out. And hopefully AJ is going to be either in front of me or behind me. Luckily, we both came out at the same time when I came out on fresh tires. That gave me very good track position. At first, my initial thought was to, go to the back and stay back there. I'm glad I did not do that because it was very hard to pass here today. It became a tire management race. As you can see, it was an eventful. These guys had their hands full. I can see why the yellows were kind of put away there this evening. It kind of made everybody, be on their, as you would say, put their thought into it without, crashing anybody and slowing down, not taking any risks because the car can barely turn. So I'm kudos to those guys.
Absolutely. So Mike's in the chat. He's wanting me to call you the stock car ace, but you won your stock car race. So I said I would quit making fun of you whenever you won one. You have now done so. So Matty Wagner, great job tonight. P2.
Thank you.
You're gonna get the flag one of these days because you're just too darn good not to. You got any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to this evening?
Well, I'd like to thank Eric Peterson for joining the league. He's one of my good buddies. I like to race with, and then Craig. I don't know where you're at. Probably sitting on the beach, and
he is on the beach. We've duly made fun of. We've duly given him his due tonight.
Oh my God! Probably sitting there with a Corona in his hand or something like that. You probably don't like Corona.
He was in the chat.
Was he really?
He was in the chat. So we've been giving him grief for the last hour.
Yeah, he should have brought his sim rig with him. Anyway, I'd like to thank you too, Mark Murphy. You are good as usual. Ryan, Air King, good sidekick. Love you guys. Shout out to TWRS and James. This one's for you. Too bad we couldn't get the checker flag here today, but we were off Placo's. I think if that caution had come out, it was ours, and that's the way it goes. So, all right, boys. You boys take care and have yourself a good night, and I'll see you in the next race.
Absolutely will do, Matty Wags. You keep going fast and having fun, brother. We'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Thanks.
That was second place Matt Wagner. And give me just a second to change views, and we'll bring up the man of the hour, Edson Santos. Edson, Mark Murphy, or Ryan Eric King in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Hello, Mark. Ryan. Good night.
Yep. Hey,
You know what? I'm looking at that white and rainbow hued leaner energy machine, and I got to ask you the question that's on everybody's mind. How much gas did you have left in that baby when you crossed the line?
No, actually, I was okay, Mark. It's a curiosity because I was trying to save fuel as good everything that could be possible. And one corner before the yellow came, my control, I have a control with the fuel, gave me the green sign so I could accelerate 100% in map 1. So with no yellow, I would win because I had 3.5 or 4 seconds gap difference, and I was able to win anyway.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, congratulations on being the champion balloon foot of the Lost Wages 150 this evening. Ryan, do you have anything for our winner?
no, because that's the one question I had on my mind. Did Edson have enough fuel to make it? And apparently, it's yes.
Yeah, because when the first yellow came, really, I was thinking, I thought everybody are gonna go to the pit because it could be a perfect window. Of course, I would had to save a lot of fuel, following some cars, map 4, map 5, but it was possible. So in the end, I was with fuel enough to win, and so glad to stay here. 3 victories and all of them with the yellow flags in the end.
Absolutely. Well, Edson, again, man, heck of a run, heck of a strategy call. Kudos to you. Do you have any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to this evening, my man? This is your 3rd win in this very young series. And so congratulations on that, Mark, as well. But who would you like to celebrate with this evening?
Yeah, I'd like to send a hug for all my teammates in Brazil. Some of them are watching the race. Concerning the championship, it's a shame I didn't ruin off one of the race in the beginning. I could be fighting for the title in this first season, the league, but very satisfying anyway. And a kiss for our family here, watching the race as well. Yeah, and for all of you, warm hug for.
Hey, thank you so much, Edson. It's always good to see you. Always good to have you in the field. You keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
I'll be there in the next one. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Edson. That is race winner Edson Santos. And Ryan, you just can't help but get over how good the racing has been in this series thus far, can you?
Yeah, because we had a great finish today, despite the yellow flag. And even without the yellow, seemingly we were going to have a race that was going to be a 3-way fight all the way down to the last lap.
Yeah, it was, and it would have been, and that's kind of the awesome thing that I love about these races, the compromised fuel run, the minimal tires. You really have to pick a strategy, and you have to get to it. And Edson Santos, he called it right. He called his shot right at the outset. He was right on the line, and he was able to save the fuel to make it work. Give a shout out to Scott Schrader. Scott Schrader went 44 laps on that first fuel run, put himself into a position where he could go full rich to the end. That's not a car that we've seen at the front, at the sharp end of the grid, all that much this season. He comes home a fine 6th. So give a shout out to Scott. The other thing that I wanted to point out is what a great job Shane Coker has done with this series, because anytime you have drivers like, Matt Wagner, who's a veteran, a longtime league veteran, that's a Lionheart driver. That's a pretty big name in these circles. Same with Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Eric Peterson. Those guys are all fine drivers. AJ Musselman entered tonight. That's a 6,000 plus I rating. That's one of the top 0.25% that's one of the top 0.25% of drivers in the service. And AJ Musselman can match it with anybody on any circle track. And so it's awesome to see AJ get up here, get in here, be in this race. And it just lends so much credibility and so much more prestige when you have guys of that caliber in your league. It wouldn't surprise me to see more of them start to follow. And so good on Shane for getting those guys to show up here. As for me, Mark Murphy, P1 Broadcasting, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in tonight. We had a lot of people watching, and we had a lot of people in the chat. And we had a lot of people in the chat and watching that should have been on the racetrack, but they're on a beach instead. And so look forward to them returning next week. I want to thank all our viewers, though, because I did this race tonight from a hotspot on a cell phone. And so I'm not quite sure exactly how it looked to everybody out there, but I appreciate you if it glitched or if it got glitchy or the quality went down a little bit at times. From me to you, my heartfelt thanks for putting up with it and sticking with it and staying with us throughout the race, because we did have quite a few people watching throughout. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Boomer Button Boxes, the NASR Votive Racing Series, Whiplash Sim Cams, all the people that make this possible. Gary Godso for giving a guy like me a chance with a microphone. That's a big leap of faith, isn't it, Ryan?
Oh, massively.
You know, and yet he does it, and he lets me do this twice a week on his channel, and I'm absolutely grateful for that. We'd also like to thank all the military, first responders, firefighters, policemen, EMTs, all the people that do the job at night so that we can lay our heads down in peace and sleep well. But we'd like to thank them. And we also, again, would like to think of the Lionheart tonight. 13 years ago today, Danny Weldon, you're still with us. You're still in our prayers. Good night. And see you later from Las Vegas. Mark Murphy, NASR Votive Series. We will see you next week at the big rectangle in Indianapolis.